Hello from Tampa and welcome to Fire TV Channel's Bracket Breakdown. I'm Howard Megdal of The Next and Locked On Women's Basketball. Bracket Breakdown is a series of shows we will bring you and have brought you throughout the NCAA tournament. You can find every episode of Bracket Breakdown on Fire TV and Echo Show devices simply by asking, Alexa, watch Bracket Breakdown. More of a statement, but nevertheless, we will be back. No, we will not be back in the bid studio. We've been in the bid studio all tournament long, and now we are here in Tampa for the big finish to the NCAA tournament here at the Final Four. And it was quite a big finish, especially if you're a fan of the UConn Huskies. Connecticut with an 85-51 victory in the national semifinal. That usually doesn't happen. That's the type of thing that Brianna Stewart UConn teams have done. And Gino Auriemma talked about the fact that he was a little bit surprised, but they played, he said, flawless defensively. Offensively, they were incredible. We're going to get into why and how that happened, both with T. Baker, who is covering the UConn Huskies for us here at the Final Four, as they have all season. Bella Munson is covering UCLA for us, moonlighting away from her University of Washington. Typical coverage as well. All hands on deck here at the Next and Locked On Women's Basketball, bringing you the best of Bracket Breakdown. And someone who had a really great night, Azzi Fudd. I talked about this in the studio show, the fact that she had gone from 27 points to 17 points to 10 points to 8 points. And then if you're going to win in the Final Four, you needed the entire trinity to come through. Well, Azzi came through, you might say. 19 points on 12 shots, a big explosion early. I asked her why she was so effective tonight and how she went about doing it, whether it was intentional. Here's what she had to say.
Congratulations, you guys. Azzi, this one's for you. An early explosion, obviously, offensively. Take me through what allowed you to kind of break out in this way and how intentional it was for you to make sure that you were making your mark, especially on the offensive end here.
Sorry. Yeah, well, thank you. But I think my mindset tonight was just to be aggressive, whatever that meant, starting on the defensive end. I think that was our entire team's mindset, trying to make things difficult for them and having that lead to offense. And so, yeah, being aggressive tonight was my main focus, whether that meant making shots, just driving and kicking, and having teammates that are always on you to shoot the ball. It makes it pretty easy to also, when they're giving me great looks, setting me great screens, giving me great passes, that also makes it really easy. So staying aggressive tonight, my teammates made it extremely easy for me getting the ball when I was wide open. So thanks to them.
So for Azzi, it was just a matter of doing what she knew she was capable of doing. Joined here by T. Baker, who does incredible work over at the Next. And I guess the place to start is that Paige Bueckers, who you might have heard a little something about if you follow the sport, had 16 points on 17 shots. So I have that right? Yeah, 16 points on 17 shots. And you'd normally think, gee, when your best player has 16 points on 17 shots, has to work that hard, you're not going to win by 34. How did they do it?
Yeah, well, I think that the difference between this year's team and previous year's team is that Paige Bueckers doesn't have to carry the team.
Mm-hmm.
And, 40% shooting, still not a terrible night, but not typical for what we would see in this tournament in particular.
Yeah, I mean, when you're used to 30, what she had, 16 points, 5 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 assists. She did not turn the ball over. We're not sitting here saying, oh, my God, why did Paige choke in the Final Four? She's done. That was a good game by mortal standards. But what was allowing Paige to be ordinary and for UConn to still dominate like this?
Is their depth. I mean, the thing about this Huskies team is that they're healthy, and they haven't been that way in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
I think starting with Azzi Fudd, came out and sort of showed who's the shooter that she is. Last game was a bit off for her.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sarah Strong, I mean, she is an incredibly gifted freshman. She can do everything on the court. She is one of the top 10 best players in the country,
no doubt,
an All-American. So when you have that trio of players, and that's what Gino Auriemma has always said, is that his best teams have had that trio, and this team has that, and they are putting themselves in a position to win their 12th national championship.
I mean, that's why they beat Louisville by, I think, 130 points, some ridiculous thing. And that was when he talked about this the other day. And it does, it truly, and I've written about this, that it reminds me of those teams that I covered the Brianna Stewart teams where Stewart could have an off night and Mariah Jefferson would come up big.
Yeah.
They could both have off nights and Morton Tuck could come up big.
Right. And I think that's the piece that's been missing, is that if someone has an off game, someone else steps up. Last game, Azzi Fudd started 0 for 9, but there was Sarah Strong, there was Paige Bueckers, they were dominant. So I think it's really, you know, the type of team that Oriema has constructed that's had the type of success that we're seeing from this team. And again, it's just dominant performance. I was surprised at the dominance.
Yes.
You know, it's a combination of UConn having a really good game on the defensive end and just disrupting what UCLA was trying to do. But they made a really, really talented team, you know, lose by 30 points.
UConn fans have had to suffer through a period of just abject failure, right? Since 2016, they've only been in the Final Four basically every year except for 2, one of them based on COVID, one of them based on Ohio State.
Yeah.
Are we feeling sympathy for UConn fans who might finally see that horrific drought of 8, 9 years come to an end?
Well, it's been a dark, nearly decade in Stores, Connecticut. Just a few Final Fours. You know, it's the standard that's been set by this program, and I think that every player that commits to play for UConn knows that's the standard. And anything less than the national championship is a failure, which is a pretty unhealthy standard if you think about it. But the fact that they've been able to accomplish this at this level for going on 3 decades is truly remarkable and a testament to the culture that they've built.
No doubt about it. As you can see, we are live here in Tampa, so enjoy the ambiance as well. T. Baker, continue doing great work. Can't wait to read this story at the next. Always a pleasure chatting with you. And of course, as you said, it was not just UConn winning, but it was UConn beating a really good UCLA team. And so we're going to switch you out and bring in Bella Munson, who was talking about and is covering the UCLA team tonight. You know, before we do, thank you. It was not the last game for Lauren Betts. And that to me is the part I really think about the most. Lauren Betts, who has been a foundational player in the history of UCLA. We had Michelle Smith on the studio show. Hi, Bella.
Hi.
We had Michelle Smith on the studio show earlier this tournament. And she was asked whether she thinks Lauren Betts has a chance to be the best player in UCLA history. Michelle Smith, who has covered a lot of UCLA players, thinks she already is the best player in UCLA history. Tonight, she had 25 points, 26 points, on 18 shots, but UCLA lost by 34. So it's sort of the opposite question of what I was asking T. What went wrong tonight for UCLA where Lauren could have that type of game and they still lose by 34?
Yeah, I mean, I think Lauren having 26 points is great, but if no one else scores in double figures, which is what happened,
Right.
You're not going to overcome the scoring of a UConn team. And I think the players agreed that they lost the game in the first half with the 14 first half turnovers they had that led to 19 points off of those turnovers for UConn. And they were losing by 20 at halftime. Yeah. So that is your deficit right there. And I think Yana Elfi did a really fantastic job. Paige Bueckers talked about her setting the tone defensively for them. She did a great job of fronting Lauren Betts, forcing the turnovers, preventing them from getting the ball to Lauren. They want to play through Lauren Betts, right? She is their star player. You want to get the ball to her. She only had 1 assist tonight, which I think is also indicative of the fact that they weren't able to play through her. You want to get it down in the post and then kick it out for the threes. They only had 4 3-point makes the entire night, which is just wildly different from their wins earlier in the tournament.
They had 10 against LSU.
Yeah.
And to your point, Lauren Betts had almost tripled her assist percentage this year over last year. So, I mean, it's fundamentally, I think you hit the nail on the head. She shot 11 for 18. The rest of the team shot 9 for 34. And that no team can win with just one player performing for them.
Yeah, you can't shoot poorly and then also give UConn 10 more shot attempts than you have. UConn was both more efficient and had more shot attempts because of all the turnovers and the steals. And that's just not going to, I mean, I don't think anyone thought this was going to be the margin.
Right.
But certainly that is not a recipe for success. And, Lauren Betts and Kiki Rice talked about it post-game. that, some of it was UConn played really good defense. You have to give credit to the team, but it was also a lot of unforced turnovers on their part. Just mistakes, maybe a little bit like they got to this big stage and they were prepared, but maybe mentally they weren't quite there. They felt that they got out toughed specifically in the beginning and they couldn't get into a rhythm offensively, defensively. So both UConn did things well, and then UCLA just sort of didn't come out good enough either to make things difficult for UConn.
UConn won its first national championship in 1995, but they made the first Final Four in 1991. Sometimes programs need to reach one level before they do the next. And as we have said many times on the show, yes, UCLA made it in 1978 in the AIAW years, won a national title with Ann Myers-Drysdale leading the way, Billy Moore as the coach. But there are no players left from that team on the current UCLA squad.
Yeah, just it's a little bit far removed.
So as a result, seeing some brand new work out of UCLA, going to be interesting. My heart broke a little for Lauren Betts, seeing her come off the floor, and she was very sad at falling short of her goal. But we know she's back next year. How did you feel she was emotionally post-game?
I mean, she talked about being angry and using that anger. There was certainly, she was disappointed. There's no hiding that fact.
Right.
The coach was disappointed. Kiki was disappointed. Their sort of tone portrayed that, but they are also very motivated now. They feel that they now have the experience that could maybe help them get back here next year, and they plan on learning from this. They really do. They'll have to look back at film, and they'll have to look back at a lot of things. But they were already talking about working on their toughness and working on the things that lost them this game and getting back here next year. So I think as disappointed as they are, it gives them a lot of, not necessarily hope, but a lot of motivation. And
there's a lot of talent, too. There's a lot of talent coming back.
Corey Close said they have no seniors in that locker room, and they have Sienna Betts coming as well.
Sienna Betts, who I have heard people say she's the better Betts sister. That's so impossible for me to fathom, having watched Lauren Betts.
Lauren did say she's a better shooter.
Okay, well,
that's what she said yesterday.
I look forward to seeing the two of them together, and Corey certainly knows what she's doing there. It's going to be a wonderful program. Bella, cannot wait to read your story and appreciate all the work you do over at the Next. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for those of you who have been part of what we are doing here. Again, one more show tomorrow. I am joined by Kylan Mills, Monique Billings, talking about and getting you ready for the national championship game. I'm Howard Megdal from Locked On Women's Basketball on the Next. That wraps up this Fire TV channel's Bracket Breakdown show, one of the many we will bring you throughout the NCAA tournament. You can find every episode of Bracket Breakdown on Fire TV and Echo Show devices simply by asking Alexa, watch Bracket Breakdown. We'll see you next time.